Namo Ramana, prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of Ramana, who is the self manifest, we begin today's satsang with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh, followed by the chanting of Muktakatrayam by Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. नमो रमना to everyone.
एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्. हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति. हृदि विषमनसा स्वम् चिन्वतामुच्यताम् अवलचलनरूधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवतु. देहं मृण्मयः जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्तितो नाहं तत्तभावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः. कोऽहं भावयतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मा सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं. सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः विभाति स्वयं नमो रमण
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with chanting of verses from Upadesha Saram by Ashwini Balaji and Uma Shripati.
नमो रमण वायुरोधनात् क्रियते मना जालपक्षिवद्रोदसादनम् चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलक लयविनाशने उभयरोदने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धनात् लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तनात् नाशमेत्यद नष्टमानसो उत्कृष्टयोगिन कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्तितिं यत दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मना चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनं मानसं तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्गार्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मन अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वत ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभाज्यहमहं तया स्फुरतिर्स्वयं परमपूर्णस नमो रमण
Namo Ramana. We move on to Ramananjali Sangeetam. The first song will be presented by Srimati V. Radha along with Vallabh, and the second song will be presented by Srimati Pratibha Sundaresh.
Namo Ramana to all. Today we will be singing a song written by Guru Namah Shivaya. The music is given by Srimati Sulochana Natarajan and the orchestra is by Dr. Ambika Kameshwar. Annamalai, 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 Mukti Varangu Malai, Annamalai, 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 Mukti Varangu Malai, Annamalai, Vedamurangu Malai, சிந்திப்பார் முன்னின்று முக்தி வழங்கு மலை அண்ணாமலை வேதம் முழங்கு மலை சிந்திப்பார் முன்னின்று முக்தி வழங்கு மலை அண்ணாமலை 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 முக்தி வழங்கு மலை அண்ணாமலை ஆதிநெடுமால் அயன் காண அன்று பரஞ்சோதி செழுஞ்சுடராய் தோன்றுமலை ஆதிநெடுமால் அயன் காண அன்று பரஞ்சோதி செழுஞ்சுடராய் தோன்றுமலை முக்தி வழங்கு மலை அண்ணாமலை 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 சக்திக்கு ஒரு பாகம் தான் கொடுத்து நின்ற மலை முக்திக்கு வித்தாய் முளைத்த மலை சக்திக்கு ஒரு பாகம் தான் கொடுத்து நின்ற மலை முக்திக்கு வித்தாய் முளைத்த Annamalai, 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 Annamalai. எத்திசையும் போற்று மலை போற்றி புகழ்வார் எழுப்பிறப்பை மாற்று மலை. எத்திசையும் போற்று மலை போற்றி புகழ்வார் எழுப்பிறப்பை மாற்று மலை. எழுப்பிறப்பை மாற்று மலை. முக்தி வழங்கு மலை அண்ணாமலை. அண்ணாமலை, 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 அண்ணாமலை. முக்தி வழங்கு மலை அண்ணாமலை. அண்ணாமலை, 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 அண்ணாமலை. நமோ ரமண.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. This is a Telugu translation of Sri Muruganaswami's composition by J.H. Bhimacharya and music by Vijay Bhaskar. Ramana manavi vinuma kadalirara o Ramana. Ramana manavi vinuma kadalirara o Ramana. Teenudeno na tandri జ్ఞాన భిక్షాని వయ్యా చరణ కమలమునమ్మితిని రమణ మనవి వినుమా కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ దీనుడేనో నా తండ్రి జ్ఞాన భిక్షాని వయ్యా చరణ కమలమునమ్మితిని రమణ మనవి వినుమా కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ రమణ నామా జపములు చేయ ఎంతో నెమ్మది కోరి కోరి చేరితి నిన్ను ఒసగుమా సద్గతి రమణ నామా జపములు చేయ ఎంతో నెమ్మది కోరి కోరి చేరితి నిన్ను ఒసగుమా సద్గతి అరరే నిత్య సత్యము నీదో సన్నిధి మా పెన్నిధి అరరే నిత్య సత్యము నీదో సన్నిధి మా పెన్నిధి శాంతి ప్రదాత గుణనిధి రమణ కరుణావారిధి రమణ మనవి వినుమా కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ దీనుడేనో నా తండ్రి జ్ఞాన భిక్షాని వయ్యా చరణ కమలమునమ్మితిని రమణ మనవి వినుమా కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ నిన్ను నేను గొలిచెద స్వామి రమణ పాహిమా శాంతి లేక సౌఖ్యము లేదు రమణ పాహిమా నిన్ను నేను గొలిచెద స్వామి రమణ పాహిమా శాంతి లేక సౌఖ్యము లేదు రమణ పాహిమా నీవు తప్ప ఇతరము లేదు నీ చరణము భద్రము నీవు తప్ప ఇతరము లేదు నీ చరణము భద్రము రక్షకుడివే కవచవు నీవే రమణ కావరా రమణ మనవివినుమా కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ దీనుడేనో నా తండ్రి జ్ఞాన భిక్షా నీవయ్యా చరణ కమలము నమ్మితిని రమణ మనవివినుమా కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ కదలిరారా ఓ రమణ నమో రమణ
Namo Ramana. The next two songs from Ramananjali will be presented. The first one by Savitri and Jai Shri Ram, and the next one by Revathi Shankar.
Ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, whose spreading rays engulf all things, shine as the sun which makes the heart lotus blossom flag, ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, he whose pure mind turned inward, such as when desire arises, knows the self aright and merges in you, Aruna. He whose pure mind turned inward, such as when desire arises, knows the self aright and merges in you, Aruna. Ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, he who with heart surrendered to you, beholds forever you alone, sees all things as forms of you, and loves them as another. He who with heart surrendered to you, beholds forever you alone, sees all things as forms of you, and loves them as another than the self. Oh, Arunayal triumphs because he is immersed in your ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, ocean of nectar, full of grace, O self-supreme, O mount of light, O mount of light, O mount of light. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We are meditating on the 33rd verse of Saptashanam. Na vednyaham mamut vednyaham mam iti pravado manujasya hasyaha dridrishya bhedat kimayam dvidhatma
स्वात्मैकतायां हि धियां न भेदाः. Statements like I do not know myself or I know myself are matter for laughter. Are there two selves, the seer and the seen? The experience of all is that the self is one. I have heard from Akka saying, a great Swamiji used to say, Sir, do you know Gagabugai? Very sweet. The other person would ask, who is this? Is this a person? How does he or she look like? Thin, fat, tall, fair? Is he a male or is she a female? All these questions the other person would ask. But the answer was, I don't know. This is our state too. I do not know who I am and I am thinking of myself and my problems. First of all, I don't exist. Then how do the problems come? The self alone exists. I present to you a song by Sadhguru Swami, the Kannada translation by R.N. Jayagopal, music by Vijay Bhaskar. ಅರಿವ ಸುಮವು ನಿನ್ನ ಮನದೆ ಅರಳಿನ ಗುತಿಹುದೇ ನಾನೆಂಬುದರ್ಥ ಅರಿತು ರಮಣ ಶಿವನ ಬೆರೆತಿಹುದೇ ಅರಿವ ಸುಮವು ನಿನ್ನ ಮನದೆ ಅರಳಿನ ಗುತಿಹುದೇ ನಾನೆಂಬುದರ್ಥ ಅರಿತು ರಮಣ ಶಿವನ ಬೆರೆತಿಹುದೇ ಕಳಂಕರಹಿತ ಅಂತರಾತ್ಮನ ಅರಸಿ ಕಲೆತಿಹುದೇ ಕನಸು ನನಸು ಮೀರಿ ಮೋದವ ಅನುಭವಿಸುತ್ತಿರುವುದೇ ಅರಿವ ಸುಮವು ನಿನ್ನ ಮನದೆ ಅರಳಿನ ಗುತಿಹುದೇ ಲೆಕ್ಕವಿಲ್ಲದ ಗತದ ಕರ್ಮವು ಕರಗಿ ಹೋಯಿದೆ ಸಕಲ ಗಮನ ತನ್ನ ಒಳಗೆ ಬೆರೆತು ಹೋಯಿತೆ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ರಮಣನ ವರಿಸೆ ಮನವು ಶಪಥ ಮಾಡಿತೆ ಶ್ರಮವ ಗಣಿಸದ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಸಹಜ ಫಲವ ತಂದಿತೆ ಅರಿವ ಸುಮವು ನಿನ್ನ ಮನದೆ ಅರಳಿನ ಗುತಿಹುದೇ ಅಹಂಕಾರವ ಒಡೆದು ಸುಟ್ಟ ಬೂದಿ ಕರಗಿಹುದೇ ಜ್ಞಾನವೆಂಬ ಚಿತ್ರಕಾಶ ಒಳಗೆ ಬೆಳಗಿಹುದೇ ಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ವಿಧಿಯೇ ಇಲ್ಲದ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯೇ ತಲುಪಿಹುದೇ ನಾಶವಿಲ್ಲದ ಜೀವೋನ್ಮಾದವ ಆತ್ಮಗಳಿಸಿಹುದೇ ಅರಿವ ಸುಮವು ನಿನ್ನ ಮನದೆ ಅರಳಿನ ಗುತಿಹುದೇ ಪುನರ್ಜನ್ಮವು ಇರದೆ ಸಾಯುವ ಬಗೆಯು ತಿಳಿದಿಹುದೇ ನಾನು ಎಂಬುದ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಕರಿಸಿಹುದೇ ಮರೆವು ಇಲ್ಲದ ಇರುವಿಕೆಯ ಸುಖ ನಿನಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಿಹುದೇ ಮನುಜ ದೇಹ ಧರಿಸೆ ಕಾರಣ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಮುಗಿದಿಹುದೇ ಅರಿವ ಸುಮವು ನಿನ್ನ ಮನದೆ ಅರಳಿನ ಗುತಿಹುದೇ ನಾನೆಂಬುದರ್ಥ ಅರಿತು ರಮಣ ಶಿವನ ಬೆರೆತಿಹುದೇ. ನಾನೆಂಬುದರ್ಥ ಅರಿತು ರಮಣ ಶಿವನ ಬೆರೆತಿಹುದೇ. ನಾನೆಂಬುದರ್ಥ ಅರಿತು ರಮಣ ಶಿವನ ಬೆರೆತಿಹುದೇ. ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. We now go on to the reading and sharing by Nanda Kumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this the book reading segment of our satsang, we continue to read from Fresh Discoveries, Western Seekers on Sri Ramana Maharshi, a compilation by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. We have been going through the account of Shunyata Bhava and we have been finding that his writings are very mystic in nature. So I thought I'll give some samples of how to see these mystical writings, some simple and some leading on to complicated on the same topic, and what it does to the mind. Just 2-3 before we go back to the what the Upanishads say. He who thinks that God is not comprehended, by him God is comprehended. But he who thinks that God is comprehended knows him not. God is unknown to those who know him and is known to those who do not know him at all. Goethe, the highest to which a man can attain is wonder. And if the prime phenomenon make him wonder, let him be content. Nothing higher can it give to him, and nothing further should he seek for behind it. Here, in wonder, is the limit. There is one more with which we can go back to the book again. One of the greatest favors bestowed on the soul transiently in this life is to enable it to see so distinctly and to feel so profoundly that it cannot comprehend God at all. These souls are herein somewhat like the saints in heaven, where they who know him most perfectly perceive most clearly that he is infinitely incomprehensible. For those who have the less clear vision do not perceive so clearly, as do those others, how greatly he transcends their vision. Something like that, where the mind initially struggles, then is left in a state of wonder and quietness. Shunyata Bhava seems to be writing like that. So we proceed with his writings. We found that he cherished Bhagavan's instruction. We are always aware to his group, then out of the silence of Akasha, without any question from these visitors, Bhagavan himself gives them this phrase, we are always aware. We continue, we are always aware. It resounded in consciousness like a clear chime, a pure note struck in the Akasha silence as an echo of Sri Arunachala and inner Dakshinamurti. It was like the stately Vedic hymn of projection, or like Shankara's refrain, I am eternal Ananda and awareness. I am Shiva, Shivoham, Chidananda Rupam, Shivoham, Shivoham. The final assertion, the rest is silence. We are the awareness, the Purna, the experiencing. Therefore, Sri Ramana's gay and mature statement, uttered upon Sri Simplex and reminding himself in us. Through this statement, we are eternal, we are always aware. Bhagavan is remaining himself in us, says Shunyata Baba. We are always aware, and not least in babyhood, before desires and mind usurp in power, willfulness, and blur in conceit of agency. So we are always aware, even in childhood, in the innocence, we are fully aware. Sunita Baba says, before the ego starts consolidating, the I starts consolidating, and the child is no more a child. But we always consciously aware and awarely free in ego wars and duality play. He is introducing that the freedom or the conscious awareness is even there during the ego play and duality play. Are we the Sahaja awareness in natural spirituality? Yes. In the psyche, as in the Swa, there is ever central Akashic memory of integrality, of the non-dual essence, and of the whole experiencing, of the wholeness experiencing. Swadarshan is ever Swalila. This is always present in us, he says. We are the awareness in every form and interplay. So why not be word free, home free, and time free artists in life without psychic strain, tension, or disease? The Leela is relatively real or absolutely false. These appear paradoxical, but once we slow down, we can see what he's saying. The Leela is relatively real. So far as you take it as relative, it can be taken as relatively real. But once you go to the absolute, then the Leela becomes false, but absolutely false. It is divine and joyous because I play in it. The Leela is divine and joyous because I play in it. With one fragment of myself, I projected all these universes and interpenetrating multiverses. I remain in and beyond the self-interplay. And only because of I, the beloved forms are dear. Only because of the self, everything is dear. The shadow play in Shakti Maya is fun in essential freedom. It is just fun. In basically what is freedom, the Maya is just fun, the Leela. Self-aware, we need not cling to shadows or to part play, and need not stick in forms and word symbols, bodies and playthings, but can, like Maharishi Ramana, freely speak and freely live in silence in the intuitive prajna light and in the rhythm of passion-free, possessive-free karuna. The self in other forms and self in interplay human or otherwise ever understands whatever it may be doing, whether it is in the other forms or in the relationship of interplay in other forms, it never leaves our inner standing. It is always here. It is ever understands. It ever recognizes and smiles wisely. And we are always aware. Since that inner self is always present, is always smiling, is always existent, that is what we are, and therefore we are always aware. That is what Bhagavan has said to Sunyata Bhava. Shunya experiencing one. The form free, ego free, time free, and thought free Shunya is more than a concept, is more than an ideal, is more than an abstraction or an idea. It is not an experience, but experiencing. It is not an anubhava which has a beginning and an end. Shunyata Baba is saying it is experiencing, it is present, continuous. It is conscious awareness. This Shunya is Advaita Darshan. The Darshan which is not in Dvaita but in being, the Advaita Darshan. Be still, be thought free, be mind free, and be ego free to reflect and recognize purely. Contemplate the Akasha or Shunya silence until you be in contemplation, the experiencing, the Shunya, consciously aware or in aware unconsciousness, naturally ego free, freer free, and death free. Be that silence till you are identified with that, says Shunyata Baba. And we find the same in a meditation in Yoga Vasishtam, where Bali, one of the characters in the chapter 5, he meditates like this, that can the mountain exist without consciousness? No. Since the mountain cannot exist without the consciousness, the mountain is only made of this consciousness, the mountain is only this consciousness. Can I hate or love without consciousness? Therefore, hate and love inside me are also consciousness. Can the other or I exist without consciousness? No. Therefore, there is no other, there is no I. The consciousness alone is, without the division as subject and object. Therefore, that consciousness am I, ends the meditation. Since that I cannot go anywhere, I am here, aren't I? Therefore, when I see that consciousness is completely freed of the subject-object division, that consciousness is me. That's what Shunyata Baba says here. That is, contemplate the Akasha or Shunya silence until you be the contemplation, the experiencing, the Shunya, consciously aware or aware unconsciousness, naturally ego free, naturally fear free, and naturally death free. Be yourself everywhere. You are the self, the silence, the eternal awareness. Did Ramana Maharishi, Shankara, Buddha, Christ, and all mature Sufis and Rishis merely say so? You are the inherent prajna wisdom, the integral essence. So why wallow in mere swell knowledge and vijnana understanding? There are many deaths, but no death is real. The eternal, self-radiant Shunya. There are many deaths, but no death is real. The eternal, the self-radiant Shunya alone is real. There is a darshan inside, but nothing is seen. For darshan is more than vision. Darshan is being. Seeing is being. Knowing is being the Brahman. Shankaracharya affirmed that everything is the Atman, while the Buddha proclaimed as the essence of wisdom the awareness or experience of Nainatmaya or non-Atman nature of actuality or phenomenal interplay, which is the complementary neti mode of stating the same truth of experience as in Shankaracharya's. He is Shunyata Baba who knows, who has practiced both Buddhism and Advaita Vedantam. He is now tying up two apparent paradoxes. Many scholars feel Buddhism and Advaitic Vedantam are talking of two different things, because Advaita speaks of the self, whereas Buddhism speaks of the no self, the non-self. There is no self, but Buddhism is referring to the ego and Vedanta is referring to the supreme self. So Shunyata Baba is connecting both and saying that when Vedanta says, or Shankaracharya says, that the self alone is, and Buddha says the self is not there, they mean the same thing, because Buddha stops with neti. He stops with neti. The iti should be automatic according to Buddha. If you do neti properly, the iti need not be pointed out. Whereas Bhagavan says the iti can be held, and holding the iti only, the neti is dead. Bhagavan never loses sight of the iti, but both mean the same. the Buddhist neti neti or no ego ends in indirectly coming to the Purnata or the Supreme. Whereas Atma Vichara, it brings us directly to the Supreme. So Shunyata Baba actually mystically is connecting both and saying there is no contradiction. If a book, be it Bible, Gita or Himalayan Advaita, philosophizing or word symbols like Christ, Buddha, Ram or Tao means something to us, and we have inner intuitive reason to think that it is a record of actual inner experience, we might set aside all questions of its date and authorship, its orthodoxy or heterodoxy, its agreement or disagreement with our subjective truths. So, if we feel that they are talking of inner experience, then we need not worry about at what time it was written, what is its nature and all that, because they are after all pointing out that we have to go for our inner experience, our subjective experience. Then we can actually check, we can actually say, Bhagavan used to say, I got enlightenment or I got self-realization without knowing what is the Brahman. And reading the books for others, Palaniswami and others, I came to know that my state has been analyzed in detail by Upanishads and other works. And I was surprised to see how those scriptures are describing my very state. Bhagavan used to say, and that is the view Shunyata Baba is saying, that doesn't matter which scripture you are looking, if the scripture is emphasizing your inner experience, then it is actually freeing you. It is not making you dependent on it. It is asking you to go and see your inner experience. We might be sincerely ego still and mind free to reflect purely, to penetrate behind the words, to the thoughts and realized experience which these word symbols were elected, however inadequately, to express. So whether it is that Bible, Gita or Himalayan Advaita or Christ, Buddha, Brahma or Tao that we are following, we can directly go behind what they are saying because they are only pointing out to our inner experience. And the books may not adequately express that, but you can actually come bring that to Anubhava. The I, infinitely shining, you can experience. The book can never adequately indicate, is what Shunyata Baba is saying. And they are pointing to the inner experience, they have done their work. We must remember that reality is not labeled, so that a man who has seen it has merely to read the label correctly and all is well. The invisible real is essentially and integrally an experience, a living, dynamic awareness in and beyond thought, time and mind, and their efforts and their labels. So it is not enough if I merely read some works, let us say talks with Ramana Maharshi, learn it by heart and know how to reproduce it. That is a very shallow approach to spirituality, to any spiritual teachings. Shunyata Baba is saying that set aside that method, go for anubhavam, go for inner experience, because what is being said is a dynamic awareness. We should be aware of the truth. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. We should live by what we have read and understood. We fix these for our convenience, but word symbols like Brahman, Allah, Buddha, Tao, Turiya or God are not reality or the experience. Those words or symbols are not the anubhavam. They are never more than symbolic finger posts pointing the way to inner experience, to the self-radiant Advaita living, a la Ramana Maharshi. They are all good pointers, good symbols. When Bhagavan is asked, will the Guru or the God not give us self-realization? Bhagavan says, they are symbols. They are very powerful symbols. So one difference between the statement here and statement of Bhagavan is that Bhagavan says they are powerful symbols, but they will show us the way to walk, and we have to walk the sadhana and find our true nature. Moreover, words and concepts are symbols that mean different things to different persons. Therefore, our semantic blinkered squabbles and assertive, aggressive, subjective truths. Instead, therefore, of assuming that Atma and Anatma are things of which one is true and another is false, we must remember they are attempted descriptions in words of some characteristics of what was experienced without words, concept freely. So we should not argue, even if we know Bhagavan's teachings inside out, we should not use those words to go and argue with some other teachings, because each of these words mean different things to different people. So the teachings have to be used to go for inner anubhavam rather than take those words and argue, because those words themselves mean different things to different people, says Shunyatava. We assert and strut in semantic blinkers and in wordy sentimentality. We use different terms and ideologies and mean the same thing, and we use the same word symbols with different and sometimes opposite import. It is not views and visions and names that matter, but darshan, not clever concepts and euphonic word symbols, but maturity, authenticity, and inner experiencing, the Swadharmic darshan, the Turiya mode of awareness, or sahaja. Sahaja should be our anubhava, not use these words and take them to be real and say, no, no, this word is the correct word, that word is not. Consciousness should be used. Why are you using awareness? No, those are not very important, says Shunyata Baba. The anubhavam is what is the key. We are Shunya silence, the Advaita experiencing. We are the eternal awareness. Sufis, rishis, mature sages, and mystics all agree on the word-free level of Himalayan summit experiencing. They transcend artists, genius, heroes, and professing perennial philosophers, pandas, and panthetic jnanis. Ramana Maharishi transcends all our seeming difference, all our sentimental ego squabbles over concepts and world terms, not by mere knowledge or visions, but in intuitive living, the eternal darshan in prajna wisdom and in sahaja karunya rhythm, the rhythm of I, nam, which Bhagavan says, in the end of his death experience explanation, Bhagavan says, I never knew before that there is a life of living in the self, of being ever connected with the internal rhythm of the I. That's what he says. Ramana Maharshi transcends all our seeming difference, all our sentimental ego squabbles over concepts and world terms, not by mere knowledge or visions, but in intuitive living, the eternal darshan in prajna wisdom and in sahaja karuna rhythm. That is where we should abide. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. To be able to abide in that Sahaja Karuna rhythm, Bhagavan has given us the path of self-inquiry. I pass it on, the Satsangh, to Dilip Sinha to conduct a session of self-inquiry.
Namo Ramana. Jayet Sharada Chandra Sundara Mukam Tamrara Vindekshanam Bhakta Bhishthavara Bhaya Pradakaram Kaupinamatrojvalam Svatmanandarasānubhūti vivasham Sarvanavadhyangakam Shrimantam Shri Ramaneshwaram Guruvaram Vyo Swapadesham. As usual, I will be reading from Guru Vachika Kovai from the chapter Investigation into Truth. The subject that has been blessed for the evening by Bhagavan is Brahma Vidya, the method of knowing Brahman. Verse 336. Those who possess the gnana that is rarely attained say that to ignore the world that is perceived and instead to learn to see the one who perceives it is the Brahma Vidya that is worthy of being known by aspirants. I repeat, those who possess the gnana that is rarely attained say that to ignore the world that is perceived and instead to learn to see the one who perceives it is the Brahma Vidya that is worthy of being known by aspirants. Bhagavan in the Who Am I book very clearly says, as long as the world is perceived to be real, the self-knowledge is not possible. And therefore it becomes important for us to see the one who perceives this world, the one who perceives the I thought, the one who perceives everything. When the subject who perceives all these objects, when we inquire the source of that one, then we see that is the Brahman, that is the self that we as the aspirant are seeking for. And that is the true Brahma Vidya. And Bhagavan has wrapped it up for us in this Atma Vichara. Every time the attention goes towards the world in the form of thoughts, first it always rises in the form of thoughts. And therefore Bhagavan says, inquire to whom is this thought. And the moment we inquire, we see that there is this first division I that has taken place. It is for me that this thought has appeared. Without much attention to that ego, we will be more attending to the thought. By asking to whom is this, we are bringing the attention from the thought to that first person division that has happened, which is a very notional one, the I thought. And thereupon, when we inquire, who am I? What do I really refer to as I? Then the attention, which was outward turned from the thought, brought inward to the first division or the ego entity, is further taken to the source of the I. When we inquire, who am I? And try to go to the source of the I thought, or where from this I rises within me, when we inquire and go there, then we are taken to that self, that Brahman, and that is the true Brahma Vidya that is worthy for all aspirant, is what is being said here. So Bhagavan has given us this direct path of Atma Vichara, with which we, instead of getting carried away, instead of being worried about every thought, it becomes like an opportunity to become Atmanishtha, which is what Bhagavan says. Being the consciousness, being the self is seeing the self. And this Atma Vidya, this Atma Vichara makes us become one with the self. The path itself takes us to the goal, and which Bhagavan calls as Upasana, as Akka read out yesterday. It is called as Upasana. And as we continue to do the Upasana, Bhagavan says that it becomes Sahaja, natural. We will be, the self alone will remain. The mind will gain enough strength to remain at the self, as the self. So, the immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone that we could have come to this direct path of Atma Vichara, with that immense grace, let us do Atma Vichara for the next 10 minutes. No matter how many thoughts rises within us, we should diligently inquire to whom is this, recognize that it is for me, and thereupon inquire who am I. And with the question who am I, we are taken to the self, to the source of that I thought. With repeated practice, Bhagavan assures that the mind will gain enough strength to remain as the source. With the immense grace of Bhagavan, for the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with the sharing from Sri Venkatesh Deshpande on the Gita Sara, selections from the Bhagavad Gita by Bhagavan Sri Ramana.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Vasudeva Satam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasatrusham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogiradhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavayharam Sarvalokaikanathan. Oh. We're doing Manana on the Bhagavad Gita Sara, and we've reached the verse number 37, which is from the 14th chapter, verse number 25. I request Sapna to kindly chant the verses, please.
Yes, sir. अतः श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासारः मानापमानयोस्तुल्यस्तुल्यो मित्रारिपक्षयोः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी गुणातीतः स उच्यते मानापमानयोस्तुल्यस्तुल्यो मित्रारिपक्षयोः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी गुणातीतः स उच्यते. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna. The one who is alike to honor and dishonor, alike to friends and foes, and has left off all actions except those needed for keeping the body alive, is called as one who has transcended all the three modes, the gunas. I think Nandkumar dealt with in his talk, he dealt a lot about this, so that we'll discuss this a little further. As a Jivan Mukta remains as the absolute self, and as nothing else exists apart from the self, the question of anybody else honoring him or dishonoring him, and anybody else being a friend or enemy does not arise. There is no activity to be done by him, as there is nothing to be achieved. Adi Shankara has interpreted the term samarambha as all worldly activities, as also those meant for attaining heaven swarga. The word parityagi means the one who does total renunciation of all activities, including the form, and not doership alone. The word gunatita, one who has transcended three gunas, and Jivan Mukta, liberated while living, are both synonymous. The earlier stages are Ashuddha Sattva, impure being, Mishra Sattva, mixed being, and Shuddha Sattva, pure being. These are the stages before you become a Gunatita. Of this, the impure being is when overpowered by Rajas and Tamas. The mixed being is that state in which the being, Sattva, asserts itself spasmodically, means once in a while. The Shuddha Sattva overpowers Rajas and Tamas. After these stages, there comes the state transcending the gunas. The characteristic of a Gunatita, given being objective, we cannot find out by applying them to examine whether a person is Gunatita or not. As many people imagine that they have reached the final state, this is a checklist for oneself to find out whether these qualities exist or not. So there is a story of Vivekananda and his guru Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. One day Vivekananda was walking and he heard some people talking bad about his guru. He felt very indignant and angry. He went and shouted at them. When he returned to the ashrama and narrated the incident to his guru, Ramakrishna scolded him and told him he should not have kept quiet. He should have kept quiet and left those people alone. The next day, another student of Ramakrishna came to the ashrama very sad and depressed. When asked what had happened, he said he heard some people on the road talking bad about his guru. Ramakrishna asked him, "So what did you do?" The student said sadly, "What could I do? I felt very bad." the Guru scolded him and told him he should have gone ahead and talked to those people and told them they were wrong. The others did not understand the contradicting behavior of the Guru. But he knew that Vivekananda had an aggressive, rajasic nature and had to bring some tamas into his personality, while the other student was tamasic and needed to bring some rajasic qualities in his personality. So we should understand that even at home, no one can be the same and work the same way. We need to see what level they are on and explain to them accordingly. If today someone is treating you well, do not get disturbed if tomorrow they act differently. We must not react. We must increase awareness about ourselves and bring ourselves to the correct state. So there is this state which is beyond the three gunas, which is gunatita. So if you really look at it, there are few things that bother us. If you look at it, if you think that you are this body, mind, ego, then what happens? There is a subject and there is an object, and there are different objects in the world, and they are obviously, every object is different and they'll interact with you differently, and you are influenced by them. So then you have honor, dishonor, and all these likes and dislikes which will play out in your mind. But if you really see, what are those? Those are really thoughts. If you look at intrinsically, what are those? Those are thoughts. Thoughts that you are giving energy to. Now, for example, if you have a child, a small child, and the child slaps you on your face, what do? You just laugh, you just smile about it, right? But if your neighbor comes and slaps you, what do? You get angry. Why is it that when your child slaps you, you don't bother about it, but your neighbor comes and even taps you, you feel angry? Why is it? Because you are giving that energy to that thought, and that thought is becoming big. So the great ones know that these are the honor and dishonor, likes and dislikes are just basically thoughts. The second view there is that if you are the infinite, and all the great ones say Tattvamasi, if you keep on going within, if you keep on doing self-inquiry, what happens is the longing, the mind. What happens is when you keep doing self-inquiry, the mind which has tendencies to go out, that longingness to go out, that comes to a halt. When that comes to a halt, then what happens? Then you experience the infinite. Now, if you experience the infinite, then whatever you're seeing outside is actually all part of you. So if you are in the infinite, everything is part of you, then all is within you. There is nothing outside you. When everything is within you, then if something is happening, so for example, if your stomach aches, do you go and remove the stomach and throw it away? You don't do it. You just say, oh, there is a stomach ache. You are aware of the stomach ache, and you take some medicines or take some corrective actions, and it becomes fine. So similarly, what happens is when you believe that everything is within you, then it doesn't matter if somebody says something or somebody does something, it doesn't matter because it is all you. That's another view. The third view is that if you are truly surrendered to God, then you believe that everything is happening by somebody's will. That is God's will. So if that is happening by God's will, then what happens is that you just accept whatever is happening outside. So then you again transcend your gunas which play up because of your mind. Don't play up anymore because you just accept that it is the will of God. And another view is that vairagya, as you keep as you keep interacting with the world, see, even if you come to a no mind situation, you will be interacting with the world. The world will be there. It's not that the world is going to disappear. But what happens is, if you use vairagya and you say, hey, this is asat and this is sat, I'm in my life, I'm going to be continuing with the sat and not with the asat. Sat is what? It's transcendent. It's there now, and it's not there later on. So I'm going to stay only with the sat. So this is, if you continuously use your vairagya positively at every point of time, then again your gunas don't play out in your system. So the trick is, it's not a one trick pony. We have to keep on using different methods at different points of time to be aware that now I'm getting angry, so the rajas is playing out, my rajasic thing is playing out, so I have to keep a watch on that. Or if I'm getting tamasic, or I'm getting sattvic, I know it, and everybody is praising me that I'm becoming a great soul. There also there's a problem. So we have to be able to understand that these gunas are not going to help us because number one, they're taking us out. Number two is we are gunas are always playing with something else. There's an object and subject perspective. So we have to be extremely watchful. And as we keep monitoring it very, very closely with vairagya, a point will come where the great ones have experienced, and they have become jivan muktas and gunatitas. So may Bhagwan give us all the strength to be able to be gunatita and transcend the gunas. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We go on to the sharing by Dr. Kalarani Ramanasramam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. அருணாச்சலமென அகமே நினைப்பவர் அகத்தை வேறறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சலம். Namo Ramana to all. With the abundance grace of Sri Ramana, we are meditating on Devi Kalotra Jnana Vichara Padalam, very generously given to us by Bhagavan in Tamil. And in the last satsang we learned Sitta Nilai Nichalamai Nirka Mukti. Sittam idu. Sitta Nilai Nichalama Nirka Mukti Sittam idu. The mind, without any oscillation, at the state of Nischala, merges with its source, that is Atma, and that is called Mukti. Mukti is not a thing that is to be attained from somewhere else. Do we need any great physical strength for it? No. Do we need any special education for this? Absolutely not. It is the state within us. We need not go anywhere in search for that. In the month of Margali, devotees used to do a puja. In that, they keep a kuttu a lamp made of brass, in the middle, and go around singing in praise of Panduranga Vittala. And the person who leads, he will be singing in praise of Lord, and he will say, we have to travel a long distance to reach the temple. And this will go on the whole night. He'll say another few kilometers is left out. We'll reach the temple. And after some time, he'll say only 20 kilometers are left. We'll be reaching the temple. And at the time, in the early morning, at the time of the sunrise, he will say, at last we have reached the temple. But actually, they would not have moved even an inch from that particular circle which they were going round. So this is symbolically to tell us that God is here. He is omnipresent. and He is very much within us only. We need not go anywhere. Say, for example, when the wind abide in Akasha, the wind loses its identity. It is called Akasha only and not the wind. Instead, if it starts moving away from the Akasha, it emerges a separate entity as wind. In Tamil, it is beautifully said, Nindral Veli, Asaindal Katru. If it moves, we call it as wind or Katru. If it stands still, it is a space. And if it moves, it is wind. Likewise, when the mind moves or oscillates, it is called samsara. If it stands still without any movement, it is the state of mukti. So samsara is not confined to a particular circle as we believe, like my family, my city, my community, my society and all. It is only the mind, the family, the society, the community, the state, the country in which you live, all is in our mind only. Because when we are sleeping, we don't realize all the world around us. The mind creates our own bondages, and it caught into that bandage by itself and say, oh God, I got bounded. I cannot come out of this bondage. In Ulladu Naarpadu, Bhagavan beautifully says, Naan Pattan Ennum Matte Bandha Mukti Sindanaigal. Naan Pattan Ennum Matte Bandha Mukti Sindanaigal. Until the thought, I am caught in the bondage is there, one has to think about the bondage and getting relieved out of that bondage. When one thinks he is responsible for bringing up his children, he gets attached to them, and naturally he becomes grief-stricken person because he expects that they should study well, go to a higher position and get well settled in life. He prepares a sketch, and if anything goes wrong or anything changes, he feels so bad and feels very sorrow. That is due to the thought that he is bounded to his family, society. But what Bhagavan says, when he inquires, who is this bonded person? Bhaktan yar என்று தன்னை பார்க்கும் கால், for whom this bondage, when it is asked, and dive deep into the source of that bondage thought, at that state, the ever-present Atma blossoms by itself. Tanai Udirveda. And the thought that I am bounded also vanishes. So, in the song, Bhagavan beautifully says, Sitta nilai nichalamai nirka mukti. Sittam siridu asaya samsara. Sitta nilai nichalamai nirka mukti. For realizing that state, what should one do? Adar, he says in the next stanza, Adarinal, Timan, Sittam Paramam, Prajnainal, Tiramagave Vendum Pa. A Buddhiman, an intelligent person, what will he do? He will have to withdraw his mind from the worldly objects, means withdrawing the mind from all the desires, including the desire to attain mukti. Tirumalai beautifully says, Asayarumin, Isanodayinum, Asayarumin. They get rid of the desire to attain even the God. Though in Acknowledgments beautifully Bhagavan says, Moham tavirthu un mohamai vaithumen, Moham dirayan Arunachala. Oh Arunachala, it is very good that you have got rid of all the attachments, worldly attachments of mind. But that's not enough. I have still attachment to yourself. I want to attain you. Then you are going to take that desire from me, from my mind. And when one places the mind or concentration only to Ishvara Prajna and abide there itself, this will be the best way Bhagavan says, Adalinal, Timan, Sittam, Paramam, Pragyayanal, Tiramagave Vendum Par. So just remaining as being, existence, realizing the presence as Sataspurti will be the state of Mukti. Bhagavan says, beyond this, there can nothing that can be explained in Shastras. This is the ultimate and this is the truth. That is why in this stanza, Bhagavan says, Sittam idu. There is nothing beyond this. This is the truth. For realizing this truth, this state, do we need any physical fitness? No. Bhagavan says, only a Buddhiman can do this. An intelligent person will have to make the mind to travel inward and abide in the self. In Acknowledgments also Bhagavan says, Tirumbi agandane dina aha kangan teriyumendanayan Arunachala. For that, he has to withdraw the mind from the worldly objects, from the worldly desires, and the thought that I am the doer. When the doership vanishes, when completely one surrenders to Bhagavan, the unlimited Ananda is ever waiting for us. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We go on to the sharing by Ujjwal Jagdish of Ganapati Muni's Ramanacentre 40 verses in praise of Bhagavan Sri Ramana.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Ramanena sanatamidam bhuvanam. Ramanena sanatamidam bhuvanam. Ramananinda patiya padedihudi bhuvana. Ramananinda patiya padedihudi bhuvana. Ganapati Muni, in these 10 verses, he is describing the joy of Mother Earth, and she is rejoicing that Ramana has taken birth and Ramana has incarnated again as in the human form at Tiruvannamalai, at Arunachala. He has come to Arunachala, leaving the lap of Mother Meenakshi, getting jnana there, abiding in the self. He did not have any need to come to Tiruvannamalai. He could have stayed there because he had attained the purpose of the human life. So, although he had attained the purpose of getting jnana at the lap of Meenakshi, out of his compassion, he has come to Tiruvannamalai, and at the feet of his father Arunachala, he is staying there, and he has become the leader to this world, and the Mother Earth is rejoicing. And I told that in the Ramananjali songs, we see that various poets have described this work of Ganapati Muni in their own, the same emotion they have translated into their words. The Bhavartha of this has been translated, and Lakshmi Narayana Bhatta in his song says, Arunachaladali avatarisida karuna nilayana haaduvenu marulu manavana musukida mayaya irula kadeyindu beduvenu. I sing of this great one who has incarnated at Arunachala, and the purpose of his coming is to destroy all the darkness which is covering the human minds. Marulu manavana musukida mayaya irula kaleyendu beduvenu. I pray that he has to fulfill this purpose for which he has come, to destroy the darkness. And he continues, Naliyuta saguva nirmala nadiyali yara pavanate palisihudo, yara pavanate palisihudo. Who is the great one whose purity we can see in the flowing river? ಉಳಿಯುವ ಹಕ್ಕಿಯ ಉದಾರದನಿಯಲಿ ಯಾರ ಮಧುಕಂಠ ಸುಳಿಯುವುದೋ, ಯಾರ ಮಧುಕಂಠ ಸುಳಿಯುವುದೋ. ವಾಚಿಕಂ ಸರ್ವವಾಗ್ಮಿಯಂ. He is that Shiva Tattva which resounds in every sound that we hear, and he is there in the sweet sound of the koyal. ಅರಳಿದ ಮಾವಿನ ಅನಂತ ಸಿರಿಯಲಿ ಯಾರ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಮೆರೆಯುವುದೋ, ಯಾರ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಮೆರೆಯುವುದೋ. It is the Chaitra Masa, the spring season, where the mangoes sprout and they ripe, and we get the beautiful sweet mangoes. And what power makes these mangoes ripe? What is that power which makes the mango tree grow and it blesses us with all these beautiful fruits? That karuna which is seen in all these mango fruits and all the fruits for our actions that we do. Yara karunya mereyuvudo atmarupiya ramanana vaibhava. ಆತ್ಮರೂಪಿ ಆ ರಮಣನ ವೈಭವ ತೋರುವ ರೀತಿಗೆ ಕೊನೆಯುವುದೋ, ತೋರುವ ರೀತಿಗೆ ಕೊನೆಯುವುದೋ, ತೋರುವ ರೀತಿಗೆ ಕೊನೆಯುವುದೋ. He is that same power which is in the water, which is in the air, which is the heat in the fire, which is the sun and the moon, which is taking care of the whole universe. That same power which is moving the universe is there within each one of us as the Atma. And Ramana has come to reveal the glory of this Atma. And how can we celebrate? Whatever we celebrate is less. So Mother Earth is telling, how can we celebrate the coming of this great master who has come to reveal the beauty of Atma, who is telling that the power which is taking care, the karuna which is taking care of the whole universe is there within you, taking care of you. Ramana, who has come to remind us of this truth, who is that very Atma Tattva who has come to us. How can we rejoice? How can we celebrate? Says the Mother Earth. And we see she celebrates the coming of Bhagavan Ramana with a great shower. And Puti Narsimhachar, a great poet who has written a ballet called Ramana Prabha, he says, ಮಳೆ ಬಂದಿತು ಆಹಾ, ಬಹುಕಾಲದಿಂದ ಬಾರದಿದ್ದ ಮಳೆ, ನಲಿ ನಲಿದಾಡಲು ಊರೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿತು ಮಳೆ, ಆಹಾ, ತಂದವರಾರಿದ ಈ ನೆಲಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಮಹಾತ್ಮನೋ ಬಂದಿಹನೂರಿಗೆ. It is Mother Earth started pouring and welcoming this great one who had come to Tiruvannamalai. And we see that when he came to Tiruvannamalai, there was a drought for 2-3 days at Tiruvannamalai. And when Ramana came to the Arunachala and he went straight into the Sanctum Sanctorum of Arunachaleshwara and he reported, Father, I have come. And after that, he was taken to the Ayankulam tank where his head was shaven and all his dress was given up. And when he was re-entering the Arunachaleshwara temple, it started pouring heavily, and it is Ramana himself has reported, saying that it rained for 2-3 days continuously, and the world rejoiced and it refreshed as if a new life has the earth had got, and as if the new Atma Surya had risen. That's why the next verse, where Ganapati Muni is celebrating the coming of Ramana as the Guru, has been set by Srimati Sulochana Nadarajan in the Raga Bhauli, which is known as the early morning Raga, where we see the Atma Surya of Ramana rising. Gurave Namaha, Sadgurave Namaha, Tarakaraye Namaha, Namaha Namaha Gurave Tarakaraye Gurave Tarakaraye Paradeshineva Davalena Vasasaha Shakalena Veshita Kati Vishobina Varadeshikena Naraveshadarina Shikivahanena Guru Majagadhave. In one of our dance ballet, Ramana Leela, Dr. Sharda writes a song of how the mother is celebrating with this rain, and she says, Jnanada ahadi kadiha bhuvige mohagniyali bendiha bhuvige. Jnanada ahadi kadiha jagake, the world which is waiting with the thirst of jnana. Mohagniyali bendiha bhuvige. The world which is getting burned in the mohagni, in the agni of illusion and bondage. For such a world, Ramanacentre Bengaluru Harushada Shitala Amritavarshini. For such ones, such human beings, the rain has come, bringing the news. Ramanacentre Bengaluru. She is bringing the news of Ramana coming into the earth and saving us from all this burning, and the coming of Ramana to quench all our thirst. So this very song, which has been translated to Kannada by Dr. Sharda for one of our dance ballet, Paramatma Ramana, it has been set to Hamsa Nada Raga, the sound of the Hamsa. Hamsa is Aham Sa, I am that, to bring the Nada of Aham, that I am that supreme power. With this nada, the rain has come down and given us this information that Ramana has come to save us. And so this has been set to Hamsa Nada Raga in Kannada. A few lines. Gurave Tarakaharane Gurave Tarakaharane Gurave Tarakaharane Gurave Tarakaharane. So Ramana has come, and it is for us to rejoice that Ramana has come into our lives, because he has come and his purpose is to destroy all the darkness and bring new light and the Upadesha of new life. With this, saluting to the compassion of Ramana who has come into our lives, we continue our sadhana and pray for his presence in our lives, so that we continue and attain that Atma Swarupa which he is. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the immense grace of that self manifest as Ramana, we are meditating on the litany of 108 names composed by Vishwanatha Swami, and we had completed the 10th name, Sundararya Tapappalaya Namaha, and we have gone on to the Nama, the name, Kamaniya Sucharitraya Namaha, and have been meditating on that. Kamaniya is the one which is like Ramaniya, it is Kamaniya, very beautiful, very enchanting life of Bhagavan, says Vishwanatha Swami. He goes on in the next two namas to mention two salient factors in the life of young Ramana, who was named Venkataraman. But he has encapsulated the whole of Bhagavan's childhood by saying Kamaniya Sucharitraha. And that is, he has included all the incidents in Bhagavan's boyhood, childhood and boyhood in Tiruchuli and Madurai. And if we look at those endearing qualities of Bhagavan's life, and what do we see? We see, of course, he was beloved to all. Everyone would love him. And it is recorded that they would like to take him even as a child. All the neighbors would like to take him and fondle him. And he was also very loving. And one of the factors, one of the qualities that we observe is his courage. We see that he had great courage. He used to be an ace sportsman, and his sports was marked by courage. He would swim in the Kaundinya River. He would also swim later in the Vaigai River, and he would swim or explore the Bhuminatha temple tank, which apparently was sometimes, it is known, the place is known as Tiruchuri. Churi means whirlpool. So apparently there could be whirlpools in the tank, but the young Ramana would swim in the temple tank as well. And he would say that if they were wearing any silver ornaments, those ornaments would get blackened, and that would be a telltale sign for the parents to come to know that they had swum in the temple tank, which was not allowed. But then he would sometimes swim there as well. And his courage he showed by taking his friends to climb the fort at Dindigul. When he was studying at Dindigul, he would climb along with his friends. He would guide them to climb up into the fort, which was at that time a British citadel and guarded by British soldiers. But he would take them within the fort, and he had found a way to come out of the fort as well. And that was a secret tunnel by which one of the freedom fighters, early freedom fighters, had escaped from the fort. So he would guide them to climb the fort and scale the fort as well. That was his courage, and he had the spirit of inquiry. He would be watchful. You see, he says later that the Tiruchuri waters would swell, the tank waters would swell every year in the month of Magha, and then he says we would mark the steps, and we would see to which level the waters were rising, and then they would subside also. The waters would subside also. So the watchfulness, how the waters are rising, how they are subsiding, he was very watchful. Although many biographers say that he was not interested in studies or that he was not a bright student, it is recorded that he would remember something even if he heard it once. So his attention was total. His attention was so total that if he heard something once, he could remember it, he could recall it. So it might appear, or it might have appeared to his teachers that he was not interested because he had such sharp powers of attention. Very often in a classroom, it is always a challenge for a teacher to, if the teacher has an extraordinarily bright student, or the teacher has some below average students, because the teacher cannot cope with both at the same time. And it's very easy if all the students are at a certain average level. The very intelligent student, it is said in child psychology, if the very intelligent student goes to a normal class, that student becomes very disinterested in the class. Disinterested because he already knows class. The moment he hears it once, he already knows it. Then what is he going to listen to it further about? So he may have appeared to be inattentive or disinterested because he already would have grasped everything at the very start of a class, at the very start of a subject. So there is a nama which comes later in Ashtotram which says Kushagradhi. So he had that mind which was absolutely razor sharp. And this spirit of inquiry pervaded in all things. It must have pervaded in all things, but it manifests when his father Sundaramaiah passed away, when Bhagavan was a boy of 12. And he did not approach the death of his father as anyone might have approached it. Just a boy of 12. But obviously it was the first time that he was seeing death. And so he wondered about it. He just did not wonder. He inquired into the meaning of death. He wondered in the sense he thought father seems to be asleep, just as he has been asleep earlier. And it must be remembered, as we said, that he was very loving and he was very dear to all, and therefore father was very dear to him. Yet it was not the emotion that overrode when he saw the father there. It was the inquiry, and that inquiry also shows his courage, because it requires courage to inquire. It requires courage to stay with inquiry. It is a sign of weakness to get carried away by emotions. Weakness. Why weakness? Because we are allowing the thoughts to drag us away. We are not having the position of power. But in a position of power, in a position of courage, we are able to face the situation and inquire into its true nature, which is what Bhagavan did. He inquired into the meaning of death even then as a boy of 12. He inquired as to what does it mean if father is here still. Physically he is still here. It's not that he's gone anywhere. He is here, but everyone is crying that he is gone away. And he seems to be asleep, but they are saying he's died. And further, they cremate the body. So they are treating it in a very horrific manner, so to say. Who will burn the body of a dear one? So obviously, if they are doing it, that means that body has no meaning anymore. Now, what Bhagavan understood or internalized from it is that it cannot be that suddenly that body has become meaningless. It cannot be that suddenly my father, who was a body up till that point, suddenly he is not the body anymore, because the body was there. That means that he was never the body at any point of time. My father was never the body. My father was something, my father's I was something which was in his body and which has now left the body, and therefore it is called death. And he thought to himself, he understood within himself, my father's I has left his body and my I is still within me. That's why I am said to be alive. He understood the connection with the living force within the body. Although at that point of time, he did not further inquire to understand whether both these living forces were one and the same. All this he did not inquire into, but he understood right then that the body was not I. So Bhagavan had this courage and he had the spirit of inquiry deeply embedded within him. It came to him naturally, and the love of sport, which is his Leela, because to see life as a great sport. He was a great sportsman. He was a great swimmer. He was an ace swimmer, and later on he was good at wrestling, and he learned Silambatam, some of the martial arts, and he was strong. That Rosy, courage. And it is said that he would not countenance anyone else being bullied. He would not countenance anyone being found fault with. So he had a huge sense of justice and kindness towards all. The sense of compassion was very strong in him. We will dwell on other episodes and incidents in Bhagavan's life in the next satsang. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. We now have the chanting of verses from Bhagavan's Arunachala Aksharamanamale by Radha and Vallabha.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. வீடு விட்டி துள விடுப்புக்கு பயவும் வீடு கட்டினையருளாச்சலா. வெளி விட்டேன் உன் செயல் வெறுத்திடாதுன் அருள் வெளி விட்டென்னை காருணாச்சலா. வேதாந்தத்தே வேரற விளங்கும் வேத பொருள் அருள் அருணாச்சலா. வைதலை வாழ்த்தா வைத்தருள் குடியா வைத்தென்னை விடாதருள் அருணாச்சலா. அம்புவில் ஆலிப்போல் அன்புரு உன்னில் என்னை அன்பா கரைத்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. அருணயன் நயன் அருள் கண்ணிப்பட்டேன் உன் அருள் வலை தப்புமோ அருணாச்சலா. சிந்தித்தருள் பட சிலந்தி போல் கட்டி சிறையேட்டுண்டனை அருணாச்சலா. அன்போடு நாமம் கேடன்பர்த்தம் அன்பரு கண்பனாயிட அருள் அருணாச்சலா. என் போலும் தீனர இன்புற காத்துணி என்னாலும் வாழ்ந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. என் குரு கண்பர்த்தம் இன் சொற்கொள் செவியும் என் பொன்மொழி கொள அருள் அருணாச்சலா. பொறுமயாம் பூதர புன் சொல்லை நன் சொல்ல பொறுத்தருள் இஷ்டம் பின் அருணாச்சலா. மாலை அழித்தருணாச்சல ரமணயன் மாலை அணிந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. மாலை அழித்தருணாச்சல ரமணயன் மாலை அணிந்தருள் அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ 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 அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி. அக்ஷரமண மாலை வாழி.
We conclude today's satsang with the Ashtotra Puja to Bhagavan, performed at Sri Subramaniam's altar, and the Ashtotram will be chanted by Vaibhavji and Prarthana and Uma and Ashwini. The Arati song will be sung by Revathi Shankar.
Namo Ramana. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्री रमणा स्तोत्र शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चेत् सुखवारिराशे यस्योमि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन मंशेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविधाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृवते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशलक्षोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ जूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूडिताक्षरविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मत्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातीताय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षिमुखाभासाय नमः। ॐ विराजविचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उदीतनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निधाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्री षोडाचलविद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् स्वामिने नमः ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः ॐ महाभागाय नमः ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः ॐ विनताय नमः ॐ विनुताय नमः ॐ विप्राय नमः ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः ॐ पावकोज्वलाय नमः ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः ॐ ऋच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः ॐ गुहाय नमः ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः निष्ठस्व गभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संघिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ। बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय
जय।
नमो रमणा, everyone. नमो रमणा।